Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the Init Esports Team America Season 2. We head into the second half of this year's calendar as we get ready to tackle what is going to be a little bit of a step back in time. However, we get to make right turns as well as left turns today here on the Indy Road Course. The last time we were here, Ricky Paz took the victory and managed to drink the milk in the Indy cars. This time around, we get to drive the GT3 cars on what is going to be an absolutely thrilling circuit. Let's take a little look back, though, at the previous season that we've had and all the highlights and disasters as well along the way. And actually, I take that back. We are going to be running straight in to the intro as I get to introduce my lovely partner in crime tonight, as it is going to be Mr. Sagar Bakshi. Sagar, how are you doing on this lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever these fine folks are in the world?
Great to be back in the booth with you, Mike Noss. Great to be back in the field with Team America Talent Scout events. For 2026, this is going to be the second half of the season filled with GT3 action, with some of the tracks yet to be decided as we're following the iRacing calendar this season. We're headed to one of the most iconic tracks in North America, one of the oldest tracks in the world, along with some of the greatest and most challenging. It's Indianapolis, Mike. But we've been to some iconic tracks in the past, haven't we? So the drivers have been challenged before, but maybe not quite this way, as the event format and the flavor has changed just a little bit.
It certainly has. We have a little longer format for this time around, and we got a little teaser of that in the last season when we had the 50-minute race where Eric Halsband took the victory at Road America. But this is going to be a 75-minute race. I was going to call it a sprint. It's a sprint/endurance race right about in the middle there, but it's going to be just enough for the drivers to get a pit stop in, a new set of boots maybe, a new set of fuel, and it is going to be absolutely electric to see how these drivers manage to go along that. Is, of course, one of my favorite sayings I like to say, Sagar: practice your pit stops. You drive lap after lap after lap. We're going to get to see these drivers do that here tonight. And did they practice? But that's enough blabbing about for right now. I wanted to take a second as well to talk again a little bit about the previous season. As of course, we've had a lot of races here in the Team America Talent Scout event, and starting out at GT3s at Daytona. So we've had multiple GT3 races so far. Jordan Johnson, of course, being one of the dominant drivers. He's not going to be on the grid here tonight. Cale Davidson, Nathaniel Fryman. Some of the drivers, though, Edwin Onofre, one of the more recent drivers out there. And actually, I am being told Jordan Johnson joined a little late, so he has made it here tonight onto the grid. So we get to see him once more. It's going to be exciting. Big names on the grid. And if I'm not mistaken, Sagar, this is the first time Edwin Onofre, as well as the King Jordan Johnson so far, have been on the grid together.
Yeah, so if you weren't around for last season, you're in for some throwdowns coming into this season. So we have Edwin Onofre, who's coming off a bit of a hot streak right now stepping into the shadow of Jordan Johnson. Or is Jordan Johnson stepping into the shadow of Onofre? Who came first, the chicken or the egg, is kind of the question we'll be asking this season. But you know what's great about Team America Talent Scout is that we're running tonight. So we'll decide who's going to be on top here at Indy in a very, very short amount of time. Qualifying just ticking over right now. And once that gets sorted, we'll have the countdown ready to go.
Yes, indeed. And also, let me just take a moment to mention Javier Sierra being another driver who has absolutely shown his strides and colors lately. And so he is going to be another driver in the mix here tonight that I expect to be doing quite well. Returning drivers, Eric Halsband back, but more on that in a little bit. Let's talk about the road ahead of us here as we, of course, head to the road course for Indianapolis. Next time around on August 30th, we get to head over to the Red Bull Ring again in the GT3s. All of these are going to be following the iRacing calendar, by the way. Suzuka up after that on September 13th. That's going to be an absolute thriller, a tight, twisty, windy grind as that's going to be. And then Road Atlanta being the last track that we know of thus far in the iRacing calendar. The rest to be determined in the future, except for Road America at the end on November 22nd. It's a long road ahead of us, but on top of the Team America Talent Scout event, we have a series to mimic that as well with the GT Challenge. And of course, it's going to follow every single one of those just on a slightly different day, and it will be available to absolutely everybody. And of course, we want everybody to get involved and join. We can talk a little bit tonight, though, about what we're going to be running into as Indy. Again, road course, the track that we mentioned time and time again. We'll be mentioning that plenty. It's a very flat circuit, twisty-turny, and a lot that can go wrong. The GT3 is going to be the car class, so we're going to see multiple manufacturers and makes on the grid. McLarens, AMGs, different BMWs, and so on and so forth, even down to the Ford Mustangs and Corvettes out on the track. So American cars on an American track, and the race format being 75 minutes, all brought to you here on Init Esports. Of course, we would like to thank all of the people that make these events possible, especially our title sponsor here, Regadget. As you can see, the beast that is on your screen, it is an extremely affordable beast, might I add. You can head on over to their website, shop.regadget.com, or scan that handy QR code that is in front of you. Go and pick yourself up a Phoenix PC. They're starting in extremely affordable budgets. And on top of that, if you happen to have a PC lying around that you don't know what to do with and you don't know where to get rid of it, well, Regadget will in fact take it from you, refurbish it, and get it out to a family in need. And they will even pay for the shipping to get it out to them and get, again, to a family that could use it, whether that's in a library, whether that's in a school, or in somebody's house that's maybe a little less fortunate. Regadget is always thinking about the future. Highly recommend checking them out. And on top of that, of course, a massive thank you to all of the other sponsors that we have that make these events possible. Starting off with, of course, eClutch, as we are going to be live in the MENA region. On top of that, Roku on Esports Edge. Yes, indeed, we are live on TV. Hello, Mom. And we are going to be also on the platform of Twitch and YouTube. And a massive shout out, of course, to AK Esports UK for making all of these pictures possible on your screens. And of course, the game that we race on here, iRacing. And a new sponsor that I also have to mention here, Bubba Myers Custom Paints. If you're looking to pick up an iRacing paint job for around $25, you can get yourself a beautiful custom paint. And if you're looking maybe to get one in a different way, well, Bubba is partnered here with Init Esports and providing a livery to the winner of each championship that we are putting on here at Init Esports. You don't want to miss out. Get involved. Head on over to the website and, of course, sign up for all of the events. Down in the description, you can find the links, and on top of that, of course, you can scan the QR codes that will be popping up occasionally throughout this stream. But Sauger, why don't we break down tonight a little bit and kind of talk about the expectations, as of course we haven't quite gone over the qualifying results just yet. We'll be getting to that very shortly. But in terms of the names of drivers on the grid, we have plenty who have been here from the beginning. Bronston Turner, Sean Roberts, our Aaron Browns out there. We get to see many familiar names, as well as, of course, some new ones joining us.
It is a variety out there. It's an interesting gut feeling to have, because I know a lot of these drivers now. As we've been here within it for a couple of seasons together, Mike, we get to know the drivers a little bit. We start to hang out with them. We start to develop a little bit of favoritism here behind the booth, and we start cheering on for some of our fan favorites, obviously. But seeing the likes of Edwin Onofre, Bronson Turner, Javi Sierra that I've seen run across multiple championships, and then Jordan Johnson's return, it does provide a bit of a dramatic tale to the inaugural run of the second part of the Team America Talent Scout. It just provides that spice as the variety of life, as we see drivers like Max Bowman, Jason Willott, Aaron Brown, Morgan Stringer return to the field this time again. What can they produce? Time will only tell, but we're only moments away from finding out. 1 minute left in the qualifying session for the drivers to get it all done and dusted.
You know, and on top of that, you mentioned some of the biases. I have to mention it at this point. Of course, if for anybody that was in Indy, as we are here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, virtually, of course, well, if anyone remembers back about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, my goodness, the year goes fast, as that was back in December when we had PRI in Indianapolis. We got to meet loads of the drivers in our championship, Aaron Brown being a massive help, as well as Eric Halsban, with even breaking things down behind the scenes. And on top of that, of course, getting to meet drivers like Jordan Johnson, like Eric, as well as plenty of other folks that I'm not mentioning here tonight. But it is incredible to see them back out on the grid, and as well as drivers like Brooke Protasavage back as well, driving the Aston Martin, of course, one of our female drivers that we have out tonight.
Great to see her back in the running for Team America Talent Scout as well. Man, oh man, it's about time that the qualifying session concluded, because I was beaming with anticipation. I was about to burst at the seams, Mike, and no, not just because I'm turning into a blueberry like in Willy Wonka. It's because I'm just excited to turn Init blue as we get ready to rumble here, and the drivers all ready to throw it out on the line here at Indy, where they've had the opportunity to practice at the Indy race that we had on Friday for the GT Challenge as well. So drivers who have practiced in that are going to be well equipped to deal with tonight's challenges as well.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it will be very interesting to see. And I want to talk a little bit, as of course the folks at home haven't quite been able to see what sorts of cars we're going to be working with tonight. But Sagar, in my opinion, we have a very, very interesting list of cars currently, A, in our top 4, but B, just in the grid in general here. We have loads of Ford Mustangs. Of course, that is going to be a rocket ship in the straight down the back, with the slipstream playing a massive role. But on top of that, we have an Acura out there as well. We got a little bit of a Honda NSX joining the field, some Corvettes. We have an Audi R8 with Sean Roberts behind the wheel, as well as a Lamborghini Huracan, because why not, with Jordan Anthony Higgins driving that one.
You scoff at that Lamborghini. The long legs on that thing on this platform are a lot different than we're accustomed to on ACC. So the iRacing platform does the Lamborghini a little bit more justice, and it's a little bit more esports friendly. Although it does have its own sharp, aggressive, and dramatic characteristics, it uses that same Audi V10 platform, but it has its own handling personality. It's going to reward commitment, smoothness. It's going to be excellent medium speed corners such as Indy, but rough inputs can overheat the tires and unsettle the rears. So that's one thing that we're going to be watching out for on Jordan Anthony Higgins' car.
Yeah, long race ahead, and it's going to be a long one for some. Lots of Fords, though. I'm very interested in the decision. I'm sure we'll be able to hear from that in the post-race interviews. Keep that in mind. Once this is all done and dusted, we'll get to hear from our favorite drivers and, of course, the top 3 that are going to manage to finish here tonight. But a little bit of history as well about this track is, of course, Indianapolis, the Brickyard, as it had used to be paved with 3.2 million bricks, and today, of course, only the start-finish straight still uses the original bricks, but it is, of course, tradition for the winner to kiss the bricks every single time. And also, this is also considered the largest single day sporting event in the world. Something that I often don't think of. We have a lot of big football events over in Europe, a lot of big football events if you're talking about American here in the United States, but here, of course, being the largest event known to man. Let's get into the qualifying results, though, as qualifying is done, dusted, and over with, and our top 3 is in. Jordan Johnson taking pole by about 0.4 of a second over Eric Hausband, again, a previous winner here at Team America, and another winner as well with Andrew Herschel. So our top 3 being quite close thus far, and with some 3 very big names to follow. Behind that, Nick Dawson-Latham is going to be coming in 4th, with Jacob Dick in 5th, Bronson Turner in 6th, with Nobert Alvarez Jr. coming in 7th. Javier Sierra, an uncharacteristic 8th position, with Andre Saba, a newer driver out on the grid, taking home 9th. Edwin Onofre down in 10th position, another, again, result that we don't necessarily expect. We'll be seeing a large amount of positions moved, I suspect, from Onofre. That is, of course, going to round out our top 10.
John Roberts rounds out 11th position, then Max Bowman in 12th. Morgan Stringer in 13th, with Lewis Holloway to follow. Aaron Brown in 15th. Jordan Anthony Higgins in 16th. Brooks Protozowicz in 17th. And Jason Willott rounds out 18th.
As we get ready to head on into the grid here tonight, just want to remind everybody that they can sign up for these events. Team America, we are not done. This is just the first race of many this year. Signups are still available on our website. On top of that, of course, again, we have our 2026 calendar for the GT Challenge, which is available to absolutely everybody. And then as well, our NASCAR Championship, which has been running extremely strong and getting bigger and bigger every single race we go to, Sagar. In fact, I'll let you talk about that one, as that's, of course, your baby.
Of course, it is my baby. As we We come to the green flag door, get ready to take a lap around this racetrack. We'll just take a moment to reflect on to Indianapolis. And Mike, one of the things that you did talk about earlier on, though, was the bricks here at Indy. Did you know that there are actually bricks underneath the racetrack to this day that they've excavated and put into the Indy Museum, actually?
That's fascinating. I did not know that, no.
Yeah, it's true. They recently did some excavation within the last 5 years and have recently taken out chunks of the original bricks from 1909, as it remains one of the most historic venues in the world for motorsports racing. And actual oil was picked up from those bricks from the original days and used as part of the museum piece. I mean, can you imagine having a brick with an oil stain on it from 1909?
For anybody at home, yes, we are nerds. Yes, if you're new to motor racing, we get excited over bricks with oil on them. That's just the way it goes sometimes, but that is absolutely fascinating. And of course, this track having more history than that. During World War I, it was used as a landing strip for military aircraft, as well as testing various military equipment as well. So this track has been through the ringer in terms of its history. It's had loads of different wheels, lots of different oil spilt on it throughout the years as well. And hopefully tonight we don't spill any, as we have a jam-packed grid full of very, very talented drivers, and I suspect we're going to get into the melee very quickly. And if anything has to say from the past, I do expect a clean start, but it's what happens in the middle, Sauger. It's always been the question marks.
Absolutely. With drivers in the middle, they have the opportunity to lose a lot but gain a lot very quickly on these early runs. So the sacrifices can be made, but Mike's famous saying is discretion is the better part of valor. Could be the key to victory tonight as drivers try to go wheel to wheel early on in the stint. It could be the determination of if they make it to the checkered flag or not, because if you want to finish first you've got to finish, right, Mike?
Absolutely. And here we get ready, I think, as the pace car should be pulling in very, very shortly, and we'll be handing the pace car over to Jordan Johnson, the de facto pace car for the time being, until the green flag does fly. Up at the front, I did mention, it's a Mustang. It's a 4-horse race up at the top. Well, 5-horse race. Heck, let's call Jacob Dick in there. He's got the Ferrari, the Cavaliere Rampanti. But no, at the top, it is going to be 4 5.2-liter naturally aspirated tanks. And they are going to be quite difficult to pass, I suspect. Very wide cars, as you can see. And the sound is incredible. But here we go, folks. Jordan Johnson has taken the de facto lead. The green flag is getting ready to fly. And we are ready to go racing for the first time of Season 2. As we get ready to head into the Team America 2026 second half of calendar. Side by side in the background, it's going to be Andrew Herschel and Dawson Latham going at it into the first corner. Behind that, lots of drivers scuffling for positions. Javier Serra making up some ground as well early as he tries to claw his way. The earlier you can make up ground, Sauger, the earlier you can get to the front. And Javier Sierra, he's going to be looking to claw his way up through this pack as quickly as he possibly can.
But has he possibly used up the tires a little bit too much too soon? These are temperamental things, no pun intended, as the drivers go for a press. Coming into the back stretch right now, trying to fan out into turn number 7 is not going to be the smartest move. But settling down single file line will be the right thing to do as they all start to calm down that much more. Edwin Onofre caught in the middle of this pack right now, sitting at P number 10, sitting behind a good friend, Saba. Or is he a foe? We'll find out over the next 40 minutes what his position is. Looking further ahead on the racetrack, it's Eric Hausband in the 255. Lost nothing but gained nothing so far, and Jordan Johnson escapes up the road by nearly 0.3 of a second.
And that slipstream is going to be ever so crucial. He wants to stay as close as he can to Jordan Johnson, because as soon as Eric falls out of that slipstream, Andrew Herschel is going to be there to capitalize. And Nick Dawson Latham also in the mix, as of course he should be up there. One big stick out is going to be Andrew Herschel losing a lot of positions, actually, as he's down in 8th position right now, scrapping for something that he wasn't quite expecting to be in. Unfortunately for him, losing positions early. But yes, looking at the top 3 right now, Andrew Herschel is sort of exactly where he wants to be. Bronson Turner also down in 5th position. But let's see how this manages to go.
Right now, the battle between Herschel and Dawson Lathan is going to go wheel to wheel as they exchange a little bit of paint, perhaps. The 100 and the 255 through the infield. Goes to tail, as you said earlier. The Fighting Horses all up at the front. But now we've got a McLaren in the mix. Bronson Turner in front of Herschel. Just a nose ahead for now. Looking through the pack, Lewis Holloway has lost one, but Aaron Brown has gained one. Up ahead, it's 5 positions for him right now. Not too bad of a run for half the field as we charge through it. We're only 1 lap into this one, Mike. We've got a long way left to go.
We certainly do. Drivers that stick out early here really is the man on your screen, Bronson Turner, 2 positions gained, and he is our biggest gainer thus far. So it's a bit of a stickler to move around here in the race. I just saw a little trade of positions between Lewis Holloway and Aaron Brown, as both of them are right where they started as well, and having a little bit of a scrap as it stands. The Fords seemingly very strong here tonight, but again, Andrew Herschel leaving the door wide open and allowing 5 drivers through. Great doorman he is. Okay, I'll stop using that joke, Andrew. I'll stop using it. Either way, Bronson Turner going to be looking up ahead. Nick Dawson Lathan currently in 3rd position, and really the biggest question mark for me is going to be Javier Sierra as well as Edwin Onofre. He is kind of plateaued. Edwin Onofre's best lap, a 1:27.0, which was his previous lap. That's 2 seconds off the pace of Jordan Johnson as it stands, Sauger. I'm wondering what exactly is going on in the head here of Edwin Onofre. He's in the Ford Mustang. You'd think it would be equal footing, but maybe just not able to get the grip, or maybe a setup issue as well, potentially.
But one of the things I do know about Edwin Onofre, and like I said earlier on in the cast, it's great to get a little bit of insight about the drivers, hang out with them across multiple championships. Edwin Onofre is actually a participant of West Coast Sim Racing, an organization that races 3 nights a week. As we see the side-by-side, the McLaren gives a little bit of a pinch to the Ford Mustang. The number 100 of Nick Dawson Lathan loses out to Bronson Turner on the combative run into the infield past last couple of corners of the first sector. But as I was saying,
Turner.
Go ahead.
Oh, so no.
As I was saying, it just seems like Edwin Onofre races so much throughout the week. He might have not gotten the practice that he feels like he deserves, that he needed to, with all the drivers that have showed up and showed out. I mean, he's kind of had, not a lot of competition the last time he was out. So I don't think he predicted that everybody was going to show up and be this prepared. And this is a great showing for the second half of the Team America Talent Scout, that everybody is showing up prepared. You know, you always like to talk about practicing those pit stops, Mike. I guarantee you the drivers will practice their pit stops this time.
I would certainly have hoped so, and maybe, though, if that's the case, Edwin Onofre, if he can make up some ground there. But I do want to take a moment here. This is a great time to mention just exactly what Team America is about and what these drivers are fighting for. Is, of course, they're trying to secure themselves a seat on the American roster, where they're going to be going to different events throughout the world, different virtual events as well throughout the years, and, of course, joining an amazing community of drivers as well. Currently, Jordan Johnson leading the field, Eric Halsband running in 2nd, Bronson Turner 3rd, Nick Dawson Lathan coming home in 4th with Jacob Dick in 5th. Bronson Turner, again, the talk of the town so far. One of our more consistent drivers in terms of showing. He's been in almost, I think, every single event for Team America, barring one. So I think the most set up. Let's see, though, as somebody's setting up to make a move onto him. It's a late dive bomb as Nick Dawson is going to get to the inside, but that's quickly going to turn to the out. Bronson Turner going to give him the elbows, and it's going to be a fight for another day. Look in the background also. That's going to be the Cavallino Rampanti, the Ferrari, making his move as it's going to be horse-on-horse action. Who's going to take it? Mustang versus Prancing Horse. And as the moment, it's going to be a drag race down to the first corner. Side by side, they continue on through the first sector as it's going to be door banging back and forth, but the Mustang manages to hold for now. That gives a bit of breathing room, though, to Bronson Turner up ahead. Not much, but anything is going to be welcome. And here we go again. Another attempt as we go down to the inside. Start, finish straight. No slipstream, though, to be had here for the Ferrari. It's going to have to be a pretty aggressive move as we see the Acura of Alvarez in the background. Down to the inside, though, late onto the brakes. It's not going to be enough. A great defense from Nick Dawson.
No, it's not going to be a great defense, but it will be a good attack as he goes back up in front of the McLaren for now. Now take a look, excuse me, the Ferrari, but take a look at that Acura behind Roberto Alvarez Jr. with 1827 I rating, the number 99, chasing down some heavy hitters right now. Jordan Johnson and Eric Halsband, Bronson Turner just being a few of them.
Seeing a few more battles develop here is going to be absolutely thrilling. I'm seeing some off tracks pop up as well for drivers that you wouldn't expect it for. Andrew Herschel seemingly struggling this early on, and as I say that, he gets a position on Javier Sierra, so he's making me eat my words pretty much immediately. But Javi able to get, hopefully here, another move on in the future, but they're going to continue in the background. In fact, that big train that you see, that's going to be, I think, Andrew Herschel leading the rest of these drivers. And you can see now the other Ford Mustang being the bottleneck at the front of the field. That's Nick Dawson-Lathan, as Jacob Dick just cannot get by. Is this going to be the opportunity? He tried once on the previous lap. This time, though, he is not going to be close enough by any stretch of the imagination. And it's going to be knocking on the door, continuing. But unfortunately, well, Jacob Dick, he can't come in.
And speaking of coming in, oh, never mind. I'm going to hold my breath here for a second as the drivers run nose to tail a little wide off the racetrack. A little wide indeed, but the run is there coming out of 5 and 6. That leads to a little side-by-side action coming down into turn 7, the 90-degree left-hander. For the GT3s, it will be that Cavalier Rampante getting ahead. Jacob Dick ahead of the 100, Nick Dawson-Lathan.
This is a long scrap in the making. Keep in mind, folks, there's 75 minutes in this race. We're currently 10 minutes in. They're driving like it's the last lap of the most important event of their life. As I say that, I think finally, no! Is it's going to be a mistake? Jacob Dick had the move done, dusted, and over with, but unfortunately, it looked like a little bit too much right foot. Ends up losing everything as a result. Plummets 7 positions, down to 12. And what was such a good move, what was a long time coming, a mistake, and instantly thrown away.
That's exactly what makes IMS so iconic, is that we have these original Indianapolis Motor Speedway landmarks and portions of the track, as you indicated earlier. The start-finish straight still littered with bricks from 1909, as well as the banking that we run across the start-finish straight. But we get mixed up with his braking zones, the chicanes, the traction on corner exit. And it's deceptively challenging. It just seems like a flat race course. But I mean, this place has less elevation than Paul Ricard. Now just think about that, Mike Moss. Less elevation change than Paul Ricard.
I will die on this hill. Paul Ricard has more elevation than people think. It's just a constant flat. It's just constant. Anyways, that's a conversation for another day. We're talking about Indy here, as it is an extremely flat circuit. This is a, if anyone, and Jacob Dick unfortunately has retired back to the pit lane. That's going to be the day over for him. Really unfortunate. I would have liked to see him at least make it to the checkered flag, as it was such a good pace that he had. I mean, keeping up with Nick Dawson-Lathan, Bronson Turner, just able to fight with some of the heavier names, but unfortunately the mistake that sent him over the edge there is going to be enough. We're currently riding along with Javier Sierra in that, I almost said, I did say Corvette. I was right. Don't second guess yourself. I was going to say Camaro. is the Corvette of Javier Sierra. Going to be battling along with Edwin Onofre, who's made up 3 positions thus far, gaining, of course, a free position from Jacob Dick after he managed to have a little bit of a spin himself. And behind him, Andre Saba, one of the newer drivers to Team America Talent Scout event, and currently running in 9th position with Max Bowman behind in 10th. You can see Max leading the pack, but with Morgan Stringer and Aaron Brown and Lewis Holloway joining them. Lewis Holloway, of course, from Camber and Castor, one of the teams that has been with us for every single event, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Camber and Castor run by Jesse Laverin down in the San Diego area. If you are down in the greater San Diego area, of course, they're not sponsoring us or anything. I just like to shout them out because they're great. I absolutely love them. And highly, highly recommend you heading down to Camber and Castor and checking them out. But back to the race at hand here as we continue the battle. And this saga is sort of where the drivers are going to have to settle in for the long haul. It's not necessarily about pushing as hard as you possibly can, because that's going to make your tires wear a little bit quicker than you would like. And tire wear is going to be an absolute killer, I suspect, down at the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of leads me into the keys to the race that I have laid out for some of the drivers to consider. And key number 1 is making sure you nail the braking zone, as Indianapolis, I should probably call it, is a place where drivers can win or lose huge chunks of time under braking. And getting the car slowed down cleanly and keeping it stable is really just part of the run of the course. That leads me into key number 2, is where drivers have to be aggressive but tidy over the curbs. And number 3, they have to be tidy but prioritize their exit speed, and this is not going to prioritize their exit speed, as Javi Sierra is exchanging blows side to side and wheel to wheel with Alberto Alvarez Jr. right now. And Alberto Alvarez Jr. up ahead. Onofre trails, wants to make this a 3-wide situation. Goes door to door with the 51 of Andrew Herschel right now. Slips right in on the attack. And through turn number 13, he gets squared up for the final corner. It's going to be a drag to the line, but who's going to come out on top? Onofre slips back. He's going to fall prey to Javi Sierra in the number 79 potentially.
Roll a dice and pick any one of these drivers and see who is going to be on top. I think at this point it's anyone's guess. Let's see, as we're going to have a little bit of a move now. Javi Sierra trying to pull out of the slipstream to make a move, but no, just trying to get into the head of his rival, Edwin Onofre. I don't think that's going to work. You're going to have to wake up pretty early in the morning to get into the head of somebody that has so much experience. A driver, of course, Javi Sierra, running around the 3,000 I rating mark, and Edwin Onofre around the 6,000 mark. Now, of course, I rating is just a number at the end of the day. That does not necessarily represent their skill. However, in some cases, it absolutely does. Jordan Johnson at 9.2K, and currently leading this field. It does have some numbers. Now, riding along here with the Ford Mustang of Edwin Onofre, a great view of the student driver bumper that is Andrew Herschel. I can assure you he is no student. However, he's learning a lot right now and learning how to defend and attack at the same time, with 2 very, very talented drivers sandwiching him.
A little bit of a sandwich, and we know we like to talk about food here on the broadcast, but it's not dinner time yet, folks. Hasn't rung. That's not for at least another 60 minutes from now. Plus, we still have to talk to the drivers afterwards. Let's call it another 75 minutes before we go break for dinner, Mike. But right now, the drivers have one thing on their mind: the Bubba Myers paint scheme. Jordan Johnson right now can put himself in a prize-winning position before the end of the night, as he is commanding this gap by 5.6 seconds right now to Eric Halsband, who is throwing everything he has, the kitchen sink, but all he's capable of producing as far as a best time is a 125.414, compared to what Jordan Johnson's last lap time is, a 125.276.
Jordan has been on an absolute tear these past few months, ever since joining Solpec Precision Racing Team, really. I mean, even before that, of course, back when he was on Apex and plenty of other teams that Jordan has been on in the past. He's always showing talent, but one of those drivers that you never will bet against, I think. He's a very safe one for your money, and as, of course, all drivers leading the race, with Eric Halsband as well behind, another driver who is absolutely no slouch by any stretch of the imagination, a previous Team America winner as well, as he managed to take victory back on the Road America GT3 race in the 50-minute race. So one of the more challenging races of the previous calendar's championship. He also took the victory at the end of the year in December for the Laguna GR86 race with Mark Lurick behind and Jesse Laverin taking the crown there as well. So a very, very exciting development from Eric Halsband, but he's just not able to match the pace of Jordan Johnson. And I don't want to say coming into the night, Eric probably knew that, but Jordan coming in was the heavy favorite, I think, over the rest of the field. Bronson Turner, though, being a driver that has really surprised me, and I think, Sagar, both you and I have known Bronson for a significant portion of time. I've back in the Trackalicious days, goodness, as we used to commentate on ACC many, many years ago. Bronson Turner was one of those drivers in that field, so getting to see him out on the top end of a very, very developed grid is really warming to my heart. Somebody who's been around the block, years of experience, and somebody who deserves a top 3 as well, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, just a true blue competitor at the end of the day, throwing everything he could at it tonight. And like I said early on in the broadcast, the drivers definitely came into tonight, well, prepared, ready to execute their absolute best. They know what's on the line this evening, and they're ready to go wheel to wheel. They're ready to go blow for blow as closely as possible without crossing over the threshold of dangerous driving. And we're going to see it tonight. Absolutely. We've got a little bit of a taste for it, but I think as the drivers settle into their rhythms and grooves, we'll start to see the faster drivers that have maybe made a mistake early on in this stint catch up to some slower drivers and use a little bit more aggression to get those moves done to try to get some points back, because now we are in a points-paying championship season. Here's an example of that. A little far back, but the look was made, and I think that was a bit of a scare tactic going into the final sector. Aaron Brown looking forward at Lewis Holloway in the number 93.
Aaron's one of those drivers who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, because he's come into this field, especially in Team America, with a significant disadvantage. And now he is an extremely talented driver. Let me just start off with that. However, not necessarily in the form of racing that we're seeing right now. Aaron is a primarily oval racer. In fact, he's actually somebody who's won multiple of our races in Init Esports when it comes to ovals. And on top of that, has given plenty of advice to all of our drivers, myself included, on how to get faster at ovals. So seeing him out here making right turns as well as left turns is so nice to see. And he's somebody who's been with us from the beginning of Team America as well. And getting to see that development and how well he's been able to take some of these races, I think in the previous event, let me just double check my notes on this actually, as I don't have it necessarily written down, but he had a top 3 in our previous race. And unfortunately, I think he had a spin at one point. But that was Road America. He was doing extremely well. So seeing Aaron develop to the stature that he has, he's currently up 2 positions from where he started into 13th position. He's got a battle with another veteran driver, Lewis Holloway, who I've gotten to meet in person, actually. Lewis Holloway, great guy. And getting to see these two battle it out, and I guess Aaron Brown as well I've met in person. So seeing 2 real-life people battle it out on track. You love to see the sim racing world.
It's great to see drivers come together across the sim racing world and come across each other on equal footing in similar machinery. It allows them to test each other across different makes and models, but across the same balance of performance to see who's really capable of running an endurance race, right? The Team America Talent Scout event is designed to see what drivers can do across a variety of disciplines and across a variety of challenges. It's not just about being the fastest, right, Mike? It's about being perhaps the most disciplined, or perhaps the most courageous, perhaps the most deterministic. Who can climb their way back from an incident at the end of the day versus who gives up early on.
No, absolutely. And that's actually kind of something I missed earlier on when I was talking about it. Let's hold that thought for 1 second as we have a little replay here. This is Nick Dawson-Lathan getting into a little bit of an incident, it seems like, and it's a self-inflicted one at that. That's what happens when you forget to use the middle pedal. Now, apparently, we're not done yet. As we continue side by side right now, the Acura that is going to be of Norberto Alvarez Jr. manages to sneak on by. That's Andrew Herschel in the background, Jr., making a mistake, though, and potentially giving the move. Okay, as that's going to be a little cheeky there as he completely cuts the circuit, does hand the positions back, and gets a massive slowdown penalty as a result, is my assumption there.
Oh, and the battle still rages on further back the order. And it doesn't conclude yet as Andrew Herschel is going wheel to wheel, and that looks like Edwin Onofre in that 199 Ford Mustang who's trying to chase him down. That student driver not very much looking like a student. Herschel putting on a heck of a show tonight. He has lost 2 positions on the good of things, unfortunately, but still capable of climbing back the order, as mistakes will probably be made, as this will be one of those races where it will turn into a battle of mistakes as time goes on.
And also, that's a great segue, again, as I wanted to talk briefly about what we were about to talk about, until we're rudely interrupted by great battles. Andrew Herschel is another driver that, for example, what you're talking about here, losing 5 positions and making those back up, that is exactly what we're looking for here at Team America. Being a very high-paced driver is not everything, but being able to work through difficult situations is. Edwin Onofre really making a difficult situation now for Andrew Herschel, as he is going to be rubbing a hole in the bumper currently of Herschel, and right now he's going to have to be quite the doorman to keep it shut, as it's going to be a battering ram of Edwin Onofre coming behind, trying to shove his way on through. Not to mention the fact that behind him is going to be Javi Sierra with Nick Dawson-Lathan and Andre Saba right in tow, and one little mistake, just like Icarus, who flew too close to the sun, you can end up with a little bit of a disaster ahead. And Andrew Herschel a little deep there onto the grass. Is that going to be the line that's going to compromise everything now? Edwin Onofre piling the pressure on, not allowing an inch of breathing room as he continues his way to the outside. It's going to be a long way around for the first corner, but it'll quickly turn back to the inside if he can stay alongside for long enough. Andrew Herschel going to have to go late on the brakes. Can he manage it? So far, not good, as it's going to be Andrew Herschel on the defense, but not enough as Edwin Onofre slips his way on by and makes that overtake look easy. Behind that, Javi Sierra not able to make the move as well, as he tried to get a little bit of a 2-for-1, a cheeky move, but not able to make that happen. We ride on board with Javi Sierra as he works out the chess game at 200 miles an hour on how he can pass Andrew Herschel now.
Nose to tail early on in this event. The drivers are putting on a show for us. It's going to be Javi Sierra trailing Herschel and Onofre up to P5. The driver that we said we were going to keep an eye on, he has been working his wheel and obviously has just been putting down the lap times that he needs to do. Bit defensive going into turn number 12, but that sets him up for a good run coming out of turn 13, which is one of the most important corners on the track, because it sets you up for the long stretch down pit road, right? And all the way down into the braking of turn 1, right around the 450 board is where you want to brake in these GT3 cars. Not slam on the brakes neither. You want to just get it balanced so that the ABS does not get triggered, and then get on the throttle a little bit, modulate it through turn 2, a little pump of the brake back to get the car rotated, and then on the accelerator through 3. Slam on the brakes for turn 4, get it turned in second gear. Slam on the accelerator, get it jettisoned out through 5 and 6. Down the back stretch in towards turn 7. This is where you're going to slam the brakes yet again. Coming in right at the runoff road there on the right-hand side. It looks like the 51 of Andrew Herschel's got it pitch perfect. Onofre was a little bit hesitant there. The Corvette soon followed the 51. Javi Sierra in the 79.
I do want to take a moment as this battle continues on and is going to continue on, I suspect, for the near future. I want to take a moment to mention a couple drivers that we haven't talked too much about just yet. Brooke Protasevich, for example, currently down in 16th position, however, up 1 position from where she started and managing quite good lap times. A 1:26.6 was her previous. In fact, now having a little bit of a battle as Jason Willott actually just got overtaken by Protasevich. So just on cue, a little battle all the way down the field right now, and Jason Willott finds himself down in 17th position with a brilliant livery, might I add. And Protasevich, of course, also another brilliant livery maker, has made plenty for us here at Init Esports. So seeing her out on the grid once more, very, very welcome sight. Other drivers, Sean Roberts, down 3 positions from where he started. Lewis Holloway, currently still in that battle with Aaron Brown, by the way. This has been an ongoing trend now for the past, 20 minutes, pretty much? These two have been glued together, bumper to bumper. And as I say that, it looks like we might change it. Down to the inside goes Aaron Brown. That's going to be the long way around, though, for the second part of the corner, and Lewis Holloway knows it. A great defense, runs wide through T1, covers off T2, and no chance into T3. Lewis Holloway doing everything he needs to right now to stay ahead. However, this is affecting their lap times. Both of them running around that 1:26 mark. They need to pick it up, as it's low 26s right now for Morgan Stringer. So I'd almost like to see these two work together more than against each other. While I was talking, also 2 laps ago, Jordan Johnson managed to set the fastest lap in general at a 1:24.9, the only driver thus far to breach the 1:24s.
And so far, this battle here on the racetrack doesn't seem to be ending until someone heads down pit road. That was going to be a quick call there for Nick Dawson-Lathan as he dives down pit road and avoids the battle on the racetrack by trying to settle it with the stopwatch. Very interesting, Mike. What do you think about that? We said it was going to become kind of a quiet race around the halfway point once the pit stops started taking place, but it's a little bit early on in the event, don't you think? But it is a large fuel window.
It is, but I'm more concerned about the tire window than I am the fuel, to be honest. At this point, they'll have more than enough fuel to make it to the end. I'm more concerned about what the rubber is going to be like, and I almost wonder if we're pitting this early. If you're Nick Dawson-Lathan, are you taking tires even? Are you just going to run your set of boots to the end? Very possibly, as he is taking tires. I'm getting reported in my ear from our producer, Tom Bryant. But no, I guess not. All right, well, fair enough. It is a very early pit stop, Saga. I have to agree with you. And is that just due to getting out of traffic? Is this a strategy that maybe we don't get to see too often? But the undercut certainly is the, massive undercut, I should say, is going to lose him nearly a lap, it sounds like. For now. That is.
As it is a very short track here around India, 1 minute 24 seconds, 0.9 being the fastest lap around here. He will go down a lap, and hopefully he did not cross the white line there. It was a little close, but I think he may have just got one wheel onto it, maybe not crossed over it, but he trickles back into P17, down 13 positions, and it'll be nothing but net looking forward, though. Back over to the 51, and Andrew Herschel. He's got Edwin Onofre right up the road and holding on to one of his positions that he had early on in this event.
Andrew Herschel currently down 3 positions. Again, a driver who's had ups and had downs so far. It's been a yo-yo performance thus far, with Edwin Onofre being nothing but positive. 5 positions gained for Edwin Onofre. Norberto Alvarez Jr., kind of a sleeper name that we haven't really mentioned, and I don't know why. He's up 3 positions, currently in 4th. And again, -1 position off of all of these as Nick Dawson-Lathan was ahead of these drivers pre-pit stop. The Indy pit lane is extremely long as well. I think it's nearly, if I remember right, from the ACC days, I'm not sure if it reflects necessarily onto iRacing, but it was over, I think, 70 seconds for a pit stop. It's the longest relative pit stop on the calendar, percentage-wise to a lap. I think it's something like 70% of your lap, 80% of your lap, I think, is taken in the pit lane.
That's very, very true. But here in Indianapolis, it's one of the circuits where the braking zones really are going to define your lap. But I mean, the front straight might be iconic here, but what comes after that is really what sorts out the field. The heavy braking zone into turn 1, and what comes after that, turn 2 and turn 3, which spits you out into 5 and 6, right? That right here, jettisoning over the curbs, that is what's going to define your lap here at Indy, not your straight line speed. It's your commitment and your confidence going over some of these curbs and your commitment to your vehicle. How much do you trust it? Does it trust you? No, it's an inanimate object, but there is a connection between man and machine, or in this case, man, woman, and machine.
And it's a great point as well that you bring up, and especially let's just take a little moment to talk about these cars that we're seeing, because of course these GT3 cars, you talk about commitment, they require an immense amount of commitment just to get the aerodynamics to work. For drivers like myself and you, Sagar, who are maybe more accustomed to slower cars like the GT4, where we can actually somewhat manage ourselves and understand and process what's happening. These cars, they're a lot faster, and they get to the braking zone quicker, and they stop a lot faster as well. And that's, of course, due to all those little sticky outy bits that you see on the top of the car, especially that McLaren in the front. You get the canards and cannots and all sorts of different spoilers and diffusers and fancy words, and I'll sum it up for anyone that maybe doesn't quite know what those mean, but basically it's going to be taking that air and pushing the car down onto the circuit, almost creating a bit of a vacuum, and that it only happens when you reach a certain speed. If you go too slow, that car is just going to basically drive straight off to the track, and you'll be heading to a wall quicker than a quick thing in Quicksville.
Speaking of quick things in Quicksville, Edwin Onofre in that 199 running a 125.2 last time around compared to the 125.6 from Roberto Alvarez Jr. up the road. This is going to spice things up pretty quickly as Onofre is in the hunt for a podium. He's faster than both drivers, than all three drivers ahead of him, except for Jordan Johnson, who put down a 125.2 last time by.
Rapid pace, and is it going to be enough? I'm sure it potentially will, as we have a long ways still left to go. We're almost at that halfway point, and the drivers are going to be settling in for the rhythm. Unfortunately, again, we are down one driver. Jacob Dick, after having a bit of a spin, did return back to the pit lane and is retired. The rest of the field, though, still out strong and running. Nick Dawson-Lathan, a reminder, he is currently sitting down in last place. However, he is the only driver on the field that has made an official pit stop, so he does not need to make a trip down pit lane anymore. The rest of the drivers do. Andrew Herschel, also, by the way, losing more positions. So more yo-yo experiences as Andrew Herschel finds his way up, and currently, well, he's back down. How long till he finds himself back up? His best lap, a 125.2, nearly, in fact, actually is the fastest lap compared to anybody else other than Jordan Johnson, as you had mentioned as well. So he is very, very quick, but unfortunately, quick and reckless. No, I'm kidding. Andrew, don't. I'm only joking. Let's take a look at the replay and see exactly what allowed him to lose those positions, as he's all on his lonesome right now, heading down into T1, suspecting a late braking maneuver here, and yes, indeed, that's a bit of forgetting to use the middle pedal.
Middle pedal? I only have two pedals, Mike Noss. I don't know about you, but hand clutch
back
all
in the
way. I'm a Mosa man. I'm a Mosa man now, Mike Noss. We're hand clutching. We're spinning on the racetrack, and we'll drop the hand clutch and do a nice little J turn on the racetrack. Don't you worry. I'm not as quick as these guys on the racetrack until it comes down to a J turn or a 360, because I'm well equipped to do that. And talk, a little bit about these race cars. And speaking of these race cars, let's talk about that Ford Mustang that we were alluding to earlier, that 5.4 naturally aspirated V8. Pushes around 550 to 558 horsepower, and torque, well, it's got enough to tenderize an elephant, doesn't it, Mike? 0 to 60 around 3.1 seconds, and the top speed pushes around 180. Well, let's talk about the car identity. It's got pure blue American rushing through its veins. It is loud, proud, and aggressive. It's one of the most characterful cars in the GT3 field.
Yeah, yes, it is. I'm sorry, just trying to. I wasn't expecting you to pass it back to me that quick. Yes, it is an absolute monster. And talking about it as well, it's wide, it's intimidating, it's large. When you're driving, like, for example, I'm more of a McLaren driver. When it's in your rearview mirror, it is an intimidating car to have in your rearview mirror, especially when you're doing things like this. Let's take a look at what happened. I think this is Aaron Brown that we're looking at and riding on board. A little bit of monkey see, monkey do, unfortunately, but he did not see Andrew Herschel. That is an alternate line. That is that's the old road course that he managed to take there. So just, going back, a blast from the past, back to the 2014 version.
Very interesting line taken through the final sector. Very interesting indeed, but back onto the racing surface and hopefully not receiving a disqualification for that excursion there. But here we look on to Edwin Onofre in the 199. But yes, that Mustang is a fan favorite. The V8 sound sells itself pretty much, and it really has that old school American GT flavor.
And for anyone, of course, that remembers back, 2 years ago when we had the Ford Mustang take to the Nürburgring. Now, of course, it's not quite this spec of Ford Mustang. That thing with a little more power than we see currently, but the Ford Mustang been absolutely coming back in stride. Of course, recently the Dark Horse being their newest model of that they released, and then of course the Mach-E, the Mustang Mach-E, because that's a Mustang. No, okay, I won't. No, I'm not a Ford hater, I promise. But Toyota for life. Anyways, moving on swiftly from that, Jordan Johnson still leading this race and lapping extremely fast, 125.3, faster than anybody else on the grid currently. Really, only drivers that can compete with that is, as you mentioned before, Norberto Alvarez Jr., a 125.6. He's 0.3 off the pace of our leader, and Bronson Turner, nearly a second slower, 0.7 slower. I'm getting director in my ear as we are going to be now showing off the beautiful sound here of the naturally aspirated V10 that is powering this Audi. Of course, the Lamborghini built 5.0. Shoot, it's been a minute since I've tested my knowledge on this car. It's a 5.0, right, Sauger?
5.2 liter naturally aspirated V10. So close.
I was close. Dang it. 0.2 liters off. Either way, it's a brilliant sounding car, and unfortunately, they don't make it anymore. I am so upset. Right, Audi, bring back the racing program, throw it back in a Huracan, and they won't. I know.
The downshift protection sound kills the car in its own self. Like, it's all we needed to hear, Mike. Didn't need to fire up the engine, you just need to hear the downshift protection sound, and that sound kills the car for me. It is a wonderful car, and like you said, it does have a 5.2 naturally aspirated V10 with 585 horsepower and a 0 to 60 in around 2.8 seconds. Top speed around that 181 mile an hour mark. But the interesting part about it, it's a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, so the balance of it leads it to be a little bit sharper than most.
I will admit, I used to be an Audi R8 driver back in the days when I was a GT4 driver in ACC, not like professionally. I'm not good, folks. Don't worry about that. But I did very much enjoy the Audi, despite the fact that it was a terrible car in ACC. But out in the iRacing, much better. Saw that, by the way, down in pit lane, Bowman also coming down the lane. So we have our first, and Aaron Brown, it looks like, joining the pit stop. So we're going to have 3 drivers coming in on this lap. We are just over the halfway point. So this is the time for the drivers to come on in as we have another battle on track there. That's going to be Alvarez Jr., I think, getting overtaken, I think, there by Edwin Onofre. So Edwin Onofre managing a very aggressive move, and I suspect that Alvarez Jr. might come in on this lap, go for the undercut, and try to make something happen and be a little faster than Onofre. Or alternatively, if he doesn't, he might not think that he is racing Onofre. I think, but I just find that hard to believe. Alvarez Jr. is still the fastest driver on track. Onofre into the, this makes a lot of sense. So we're going to be seeing the Alvarez Jr. go for the undercut. I suspect if Onofre went in, Alvarez would have stayed out. I think he was just doing the opposite of whatever Onofre did, and Edwin is going to be coming in on the next lap. So this looks like a mistake, almost certainly, from Norberto Alvarez that led to this. I suspect is a very wide run there. That's going to give a great bit of momentum to the Ford, and it's pretty much all sailing from there. Sagar, what was the word that you used? Jettisoning. He jettisoned himself out onto the straight. I absolutely love that word.
Absolutely. We got it from, what was that show? Jefferson's? Oh my goodness. Never mind. Pit lane becoming alive. Jordan Johnson, Alvarez, Sierra, Stringer, and Holloway all coming down pit road. This passes over the lead. Eric Houseman, Bronson Turner, and now Edwin Onofre. What can he do on an overcut on Jordan Johnson and the rest of the field as he tries to extend the stint past the halfway point?
Yeah, for Jordan Johnson, I don't want to say this is a surefire victory just yet. Jordan is not taking tires, so he is making this a little spicier, I think, than he needs to for himself. However, he will certainly be coming out ahead of Eric Halsband when this happens. I see for the Turner also joining down the pit lane, but for Eric Halsband, I'm trying to think here of what exactly he needs to do, and unfortunately for him, I think it's just sort of keep on keeping on, really. I mean, there's a sort of Damocles that hangs over the head of drivers when you are of the talent level like Jordan Johnson, but that sword, I don't think it's going to fall just yet. Now, the lack of tires still has me scratching my head. This has put Jordan behind Andrew Herschel as well as around Sean Roberts, so I think he will come out in relatively clean air. No issues to be found there. But Andrew Herschel, as well as Edwin Onofre and Eric Halsband, if they all take tires, there's a chance by the end of this, I think they're going to catch back up as this circuit. We talk about, Sagar, a term for those that maybe aren't as familiar with motor racing. If you are joining us on Esports Edge, first off, thank you, welcome. But the word that we use for long-term tire wear sometimes is going to be graining. And what exactly that is when your tires, think of your tires as a pencil eraser. When you rub that pencil eraser on a piece of paper, what happens? A bunch of rubber falls off of it. Well, that's exactly what's happening to these tires on the tarmac, and over the course of the race, it continuously loses rubber, until eventually you get down to the metal on the eraser, which is the metal on the tires, and I don't think Jordan Johnson's too worried about that. These GT3 cars, Sagar, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can go around an hour and a half, I think, on tires without really having too much of an issue. I think double stinting it's certainly not ideal, but it's certainly possible.
I think double stinting the tires might be the strategy, or I should say would be the strategy tonight if the temperatures weren't about 107 degrees for the track conditions. If they were any cooler, I would say, yeah, sure, why not? Let's double stint them bad boys. Save the time in the pits. It won't be too bad, you might say. But as the temperature exceeds 100 degrees, the tires are going to be screaming for help at the end of the stint, and the lap times are just going to show it. So I think the drivers have to play this one safe, split it down the middle, and take the fuel and tires as quickly as possible. Get back out on the racetrack, maximize what they can do with the new set of tires after that.
And speaking of new sets of tires, somebody who isn't on the newest set of tires but has made their pit stop, I want to talk about it just briefly, Nick Dawson-Lathan. He's currently down in 12th. He actually came out, or well, the rest of the drivers around him came out ahead of him. So Javi Sierra, Andre Saba, both of them now leading over Nick Dawson-Lathan. So that early pit stop strategy, not looking like it's going to be playing dividends here for Nick Dawson, but it's certainly not over until it's over. So do not count him out whatsoever. I also want to take a moment here, while we have a brief moment to breathe between these battles, to talk about a couple of our series that we have coming up. And why don't we start up with the next one, of course, which is Screen to Speed, our all-women's championship, which we're going to be having coming up very, very shortly. If you are interested in that, on top of the Screen to Speed championship that we have coming up, we will be live on iRacing in terms of our public lobbies, or in terms of the private public time trials, essentially. And of course, as I say that, we have a little bit of a battle, and that Screen to Speed will also be broadcasted live on the iRacing Twitch page. Again, our all-women's championship broadcast live on iRacing. You don't want to miss it. And again, if you want to get practice for that, we have our time trial server that's going to be hosted as well on the official iRacing page. So a massive shout out to iRacing for allowing us to promote what is such an incredible series, of course, having our all-women's championship.
It is a tremendous championship, and it will be starting up very, very soon. So if you're interested in participating, make sure you go ahead and scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand side of your screen and get yourself inserted into your sim rig, because you've only got about a week's time to prepare before our next event. Speaking of next events, we already had our NASCAR event this last Saturday, and boy, oh boy, was that an amazing time Woodside Youth Ramesh. Oh my goodness. Here at the Charlotte Roval, it was a great time. And if you're interested in joining us for more NASCAR Truck Series action, scan this new QR code in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, because the grid is filling up fast. We started out the championship with 13 drivers, nearly doubled that our second week. And if we keep at that rate, we're going to have to start turning drivers away. And that's a problem we never thought we would have here at Init. And we don't want to turn anybody away. So maybe a second split, Mike, maybe a third even. Look at Brooke Protozavich right now, all the way up into P7. The number 26, Aston Martin, looking very well. Still needs to come down pit road, but what a gain for her.
Yeah, certainly will be. Now, again, when she comes into pit lane, a few of those positions will be lost, but hold that thought. This is Willett and Saba having a bit of a scrap, and it looks like Andre Saba is actually going to make that happen very, very easy, as Jason Willett has not made a pit stop, and so not going to be getting in the way whatsoever of Andre Saba. Just going to be using him as a bit of a slipstream tow, just as we see here from Norberto Alvarez Jr. Brooke Protozavich on a different lap, or well, on a different strategy, excuse me, on the same lap, but is going to pull off to the inside, go early on the brakes, and allow Norberto Alvarez Jr. on through, as he has already gone through pit lane and put a new set of boots on. So Brooke doing a great job, plugging away up in 8th position. You absolutely love to see it. Behind that, we see Sean Roberts, who still needs to make a pit stop. Also, again, Javi Sierra having his scrap here with Saba. So a development here as well. Jordan Johnson, I want to see here, where's Andrew Herschel? Into pit lane, there we go, that's what I was looking for. So Andrew Herschel has decided to come in on this lap. He'll be dropping back to what is more than likely going to be around 8th or 9th place, but then of course we'll be going back from there. Edwin Onofre still needs to make his pit stop, and Eric Halsban just been enjoying cruising at the front of this field, leading the laps that he can.
Let's see what can be done, or if it can be done. Closing stages of this one. Morgan Stringer, Nick Dawson, Lathan, wheel to wheel, or at least nose to tail right now, and both coming in on different strategies. Lap 29 for Morgan Stringer, lap 20 for Nick Dawson Lathan. He was that driver that came in very, very early on in the event to come out from the early battles, but seems to be coming back towards them.
It certainly does. Let's see how the prospects will go here, as we still have a long ways in this race. And I say, well, 25 minutes actually. So we are down to about a sprint race left here for tonight. So the drivers are going to need to be getting a bit of a hurry up on, and drivers like Nick Dawson Lathan, who's on old bits of rubber, Morgan Stringer on fresher tires. However, looking a little bit slower right now. Let's see how we can manage this one. As the previous laps, a 1:25.7 from Nick Dawson Lathan, a 1:25.9 from Morgan Stringer. 0.2 of a difference. That's a blink of an eye, folks, but that makes all the difference over a 75-minute race. Here is Bronson Turner going through Andrew Herschel, and that didn't look like much of a fight, in my opinion. Andrew Herschel maybe allowing his teammate. Are those two teammates? No, they're not acting like teammates now.
Touch.
Oh my goodness. Andrew Herschel, like a battering ram, comes in and smashes into the McLaren. Thankfully, he does give that position back.
And what a double tap there, and a spin in the wrong direction, then a little touch in the right direction. And that's what I like to see in sportsmanship. It's just a little bit of grace given when mistakes are made. Let's take a look at this one more time on board with Herschel right now as we look forward, wheel to wheel, and the slightest of touch to the rear end, and the slightest of touch to the nose to spin it back around, and then a yield to give the position back. Not too shabby. A tip of the hat to you, sir.
Andrew Herschel kind of using the prime example of when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. In that case, he said, actually, I'm a bit of a screwdriver in this case. He went a little too aggressive. He backed it off. So a great job from Andrew Herschel, managing to reel it back in. Always a fair driver. I might make fun of Andrew Herschel from here and there, time to time. It's because he's a great guy, and he can take it. So that's only why I say it. So again, Andrew, if you're watching, big shout out to you. I love you, man. You're great. Keep it up. Norberto Alvarez Jr. behind him at the moment. Will that change? I suspect it will, to be honest. I think Norberto Alvarez has kind of been the underdog so far, and I don't want to call it just yet, as of course we will be announcing the driver of the day later, but he's sort of been my driver of the day so far. A bit of a dark horse in the reign of things, and quite, well, I was going to say in multiple ways. No, he's not in the Mustang. That joke didn't work. The only car I could have picked that the joke really wouldn't have worked for. But Norberto Alvarez doing a great job so far, and there's actually word in my ear that Aaron Brown has had a retirement. That was a few laps ago, so I suspect something may be going wrong for Aaron Brown, as he was in quite a good position, having a nice battle. It sounds like he actually had a bit of damage, so unfortunately, Aaron Brown, we'll see what had happened there, but hopefully we can see him back in the race at some point, as I suspect Aaron, somebody that will get back on the horse and just take the checkered flag to take the checkered flag. Speaking of that damage, that was on the front there of Andrew Herschel. So he has a little bit of paintwork that has chipped away. I don't suspect it's going to be affecting the downforce too much, as that Ford Mustang already has quite a bit just in its weight alone.
Taking a look here, Norberto Alvarez Jr. driving that lonely Acura NSX GT3 Evo. And this is a lot different than their counterparts on the racetrack. A 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 with 520 horsepower. 0 to 60 in around 3 seconds. And this one's a lot different because it is sharp, agile, mid-engine GT3 cars, and it's not the most brute force car in the class, but it's quick when the driver keeps its platform balanced.
Certainly is, and showing it now as we get to see the start-finish straight run. No, not quite. Get cut off here into the back. Is this going to be Morgan Stringer on the defense now, with a Ford Mustang looming in the rearview mirror? And as I talked about earlier, that's a very intimidating view. When you're sitting on board in the McLaren, you're basically sitting on the floor, and a Ford Mustang in that mirror, especially if he's bumper to bumper with you, feels like he's going to run you straight off the road at all times. It's very, very intimidating. But thankfully, we haven't seen too much of an overreaction so far. But Bronson has been doing an incredible job, gaining one position so far. But again, pit stop's still up in the air, so I think he has in total 2 positions gained, as Sean Roberts still needs to make his stop. And 2 drivers also that need to make their stops, Eric Halsban and Edwin Onofre.
Eric Halsban and Edwin Onofre both having to make those critical pit stops before the checkered flag falls. This has been a very long stint for the both of them, but looking at their lap times, they have been running very impressively. Last times around, 125.7 and 125.4 from them respectively. Edwin Onofre is up 8 positions right now in his Ford Mustang, and Eric Halsban is up 1, but it's only 1 that he needed to claim victory tonight here at Indy. Will he hold on to it as the gap continues to diminish between himself and Jordan Johnson? It's around 30 seconds separating him from Jordan.
It is certainly possible. Now, anything is possible in motor racing, and it certainly can develop in an instance. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. But right now, keeping a firm eye on what exactly Norberto Alvarez needs to do. In fact, I'd love to go on board just to see the car body language from him, as it seems like he is getting quite aggressive. And as I go on cue, that is going to be a move on now for Junior. He's going to have to take the outside line, which is going to stay to the outside. I don't think this is really the opportunity, and I say that, he's going to go for the switcheroo. Makes it to the outside, back to the outside. Wait long enough, though, you'll find the inside line, and Norberto Alvarez keeps his foot in it, but not enough. Switch back once more, potentially, onto the start-finish straight in the cards, but it seems like every move move that Norberto Alvarez makes is the wrong one. Andrew Herschel able to defend like a bat out of hell. He covers the inside, but oh my goodness, I really thought Andrew was either going to get taken out there or we were going to see the move happen, but unfortunately Alvarez smashes into that curb and all the momentum is lost. Javi Sierra, what do you do if you're in Javi Sierra's shoes? Do you just wait, bide your time, or do you try to make the move on a Norberto Alvarez Jr.?
I think if you're Javi Sierra and you see the clock tick, tick, ticking away, no, this isn't my cousin Vinny, but the clock is going to fall away from us here shortly. Only a little bit more than 20 minutes remain on the clock for the drivers to get to hurry up and go on. So the up garage number 99 of Norberto Alvarez Jr. might want to get it done sooner rather than later past the student driver of Andrew Herschel, who's not looking too much like a student right now as the student becomes the master.
Potentially move on here as we go down to the inside. Once again, Norberto Alvarez Jr. is a lion. He is ruthless in his overtakes, but unfortunately he has not been able to sink his teeth into the jugular of Andrew Herschel thus yet. Javi Sierra sitting back and watching. He's enjoying the ride. He's got the best seat in the house right now as far as I'm concerned. Norberto Alvarez, he is going to be frustrated as can be. You can see it in the way he's driving every corner. He's desperately trying to get by Andrew Herschel because he knows he's faster. He's about 2/10 on average faster than Andrew Herschel. And the thing that I suspect is if he can get by Andrew, I think Andrew has enough pace to stay in the slipstream and really be a thorn in the side of Junior. This is going to put a massive damper onto his top three prospects, as of course he's the only one that has the pace really to catch Jordan Johnson at this time. And Jordan Johnson's sitting down in third right now, and because he hasn't pit. Because Eric Halsman and Edwin Onfrey still have not pit, despite the fact that it has been a long ways. But also keep in mind, Jordan Johnson did not take tires, and at this rate, Edwin Onfrey and Eric Halsband, I suspect, are also not going to be taking tires, so they should be coming out behind. The pace difference has been significant these past few laps.
Yes, they have. It's been into the 25 6s for Onofre, but 25-0 for Jordan Johnson, 26s for Sean Roberts, as he still has to make his stop as well. Bronson Turner, Andrew Herschel, Norberto Alvarez Jr. locked in battle right now, and in comes the 99 of Norberto Alvarez Jr. out to the walls, and nearly gives a little graze like a gazelle on the Serengeti. It's under attack from the Corvette behind. The number 79 of Javi Sierra hasn't gained anything or lost anything this evening. Started in 8th, running in 8th position right now.
And I'm actually very surprised at Javi Sierra's demeanor, as he's currently just seemingly very, very content where he's at. Sitting behind Junior, I think he knows at some point Alvarez is going to get this overtake. I think it's inevitable. It's just a matter of when, not if. However, I do think if Alvarez Jr. prioritizes ambition over adhesion, he might be finding himself on the outside of the track. And that is also, I think, what Javi Sierra is banking on, is a mistake from one of them. Get a free pass and then deal with the other one later. This is very high IQ driving, and I praised Javi Sierra for this in the past. He seems to be quite an intelligent driver and have his head screwed on his shoulders very well. This is going to be another move to the outside. Alvarez Jr., though, farther ahead than he's been on every occasion thus far. This is going to allow him to get his nose to the inside as we turn back to the inside. Not going to happen, though, once again. Andrew Herschel is one of the most frustrating drivers, I think, for Norberto Alvarez Jr. at the moment. You can cut the tension with a cricket stump, Sauger.
What in goodness gracious is a cricket stump, as here comes the Corvette of Javi Sierra to the inside of the 99. Look at the stamp and ascend on Norberto Alvarez Jr. after the slightest mistake. I believe the wickets are taken down on that cricket stump.
That was good. I like that. Now, I want to say as well, I feel for Norberto Alvarez Jr. here. He is going to be seeing red at this point. In fact, I don't even think he's going to be seeing red. He's going to be engulfed in red. This is a move, though, as we see down to the inside, a full send baseball move. He is not dropping it like Aaron Judge in the outfield. Absolutely not. That is a move back with aggression from Norberto Alvarez Jr. Andrew Herschel going to be smiling as he finally has a bit of breathing room behind him.
I'm just now considering this possibility. Does Edwin Onofre even need to make a stop in this race? Is he,
yeah.
Can he run the entire 75 minutes without stopping? Is that a possibility?
How far behind is Jordan Joe? 20 seconds? No, I don't think so. He'd have to do a lot of fuel saving. I don't think he could do it. It'd be really close, but he. Eric Halsman, by the way, into pit lane, out of pit lane. He is now back into third position, and as Bon Jovi once said, he's going to be living on a prayer for this one, I think. As Eric Halsman has certainly, I think, secured himself a podium, assuming nothing goes wrong, but it's a matter of what position on that podium. Let's take a look at the replay here. This is going to be the McLaren of Morgan Stringer making a move here on to Brooke Savage in the Aston Martin. That's going to be moved done and dusted. Brooke holding to the inside there, allowing the other cars on through. And very nicely done from everybody. No dramas to be found. A great little move there as well from the Ford Mustang. I think that's Andre Saba. I'm pretty sure who that is. That made that move as well. Back into the pit lane.
He's down pit lane.
Oh no!
He's gonna come
That's
down
what
and
we
take
were
some
waiting for.
service. Oh no.
Sorry to cut you off, Sauger. I didn't mean to interrupt, but Brooke Savage. Sorry, Brooke. You didn't practice your pit entries. Oh no. I know. I certainly hope not. Oh, she ran out of fuel? Oh no, I'm getting word in my ear. She ran out of fuel at the pit lane. She is returning back to the circuit though. So an absolute trooper, Brooke Savage. Mistakes were made, but mistakes were recovered from. So a little pat on the back for that. Back to our battle at hand though, Sauger. Goodness me. That is a little exciting development that I don't think anybody had on their bingo cards.
And Onofre back out onto the racetrack. He's going to cycle in behind Eric Halsband at least. Will he lose another position to Bronson Turner, who, no, he will settle into P3. The 199 has gained 7 positions this evening.
Also, only 3 seconds behind Eric Halsband. And technically on fresher rubber. We know they didn't take tires. Never mind. Disregard.
No.
Everybody on the same set that they started on in our top 3. Top 4, in fact. Bronson Turner, who's gained 2 positions. And again, an incredible drive from Bronson. He did take tires, and what has gone on in the background there is that is going to be the AMG of Jason Willott, who is on our pit exit, finding himself onto the infield having a picnic. Now that we're going to have to take a replay of. I'm assuming a little too much right foot, cold tires potentially. Something there got the best of Willott, and unfortunately for him, he does lose, I think, a position in that exchange, but it's only going to be the 1 down to 15th. He's still up 3 positions from where he started, and yes, indeed, this does look like a cold tire moment, I'm suspecting, as we come out of pit lane. And Sauger, I think both you and I know this all too well. Wait, he misses that. It is cold. Yeah, it has to be cold tires. Trying to also give respect to our lead pack as well, but a bit of an overreaction, I think, there.
Yes, but 10 minutes remain on the clock, so the drivers are going to start to settle in, but have they actually at this point in time? I think not. Javi Sierra and Norberto Alvarez Jr. are going to be the 2 drivers who still want to duke it out into the final 5 of this one.
I am very curious to see inside the mind of both Andrew Herschel and Norberto Alvarez Jr. Alvarez, I suspect, is a little more simple. I think it's just red. Again, I said it earlier. I think it is a red mist that is currently clouding his vision, although that red mist is finally going to maybe come with a position gain. This is the best overtake attempt he's had so far. The inside, it turns to the out, though, after long enough. The momentum, though, still in the favor of the Acura. The corner, not going to be in favor, though, for him. It's going to be a position not gained this time, not gained previously, and I would say probably for about the 15th time he has not made it work. Let's see that one more time to the outside. this is an interesting move. Again, he's tried this one before. A little bit of an ambitious move, but he's going to make me eat my words as immediately he gets the job done. There might have been light contact at the apex, but Rubbin is racing. And goodness me, with enough effort, anything is possible. Roberto Alvarez Jr. finally can breathe a sigh of relief as he has found 5th position. Now I say that, and here comes Andrew Herschel, immediately trying to open that door back up. This time, though, it is not the FBI kicking it in. He's going to have to wait a little bit longer.
But lurking in the wings, it's going to be Javi Sierra trying to pick up the pieces and sees that Andrew Herschel is human after all, just like Daft Punk said, and he could possibly get a position here. The draft plays a huge role coming into the braking zone down the long stretch, but not this time around. He's a little too far back to make anything happen this time around. Coming through turn 2, you get onto the accelerator and slingshot your way around into the braking zone of turn number 4 before getting on the loud pedal again and trying not to get a little bit loose there is going to be Andrew Herschel. Then you slaughter the curves and just go ahead and assassinate them. You take all 4 wheels, drive over them with ferocity, and you carry that speed all the way down in towards turns 7 and 8.
Through 7 and 8. Now on, excuse me, to the back chicane bit. This is where the section gets very, very technical. You head into the top section where you come back down, I would say a hill. There's 3 meters of elevation total, onto the start and finish straight, and on your way to the line after this coming corner. The first corner has been the prime overtaking opportunity thus far. We've also seen some moves being made into turn 7 at times, and the occasional mistake through 4 has allowed opportunities for other drivers throughout this race. But again, turn 1 being the best opportunity really this time around, though, for Andrew Herschel. I don't think he's going to be close enough. It's still a lot of dog in the fight, though, for these top drivers, and I suspect with less than 10 minutes to go, Sauger, these drivers are going to start to get pretty aggressive. I will say, though, for Javier Sierra, for Andrew Herschel, for Roberto Alvarez Jr., the cars have just been as loyal as a Labrador. We've seen one mistake so far from Andrew Herschel. Really wasn't much, a little bit of contact. He did give the position back after that. No harm, no foul. Kept it in the fight for all this time. It's kind of fatiguing at this point, don't you think, Sauger?
Absolutely. Just going back and forth with the driver around you and trying to stay in striking distance is an exhausting thing to do, let alone do it for 75 minutes. These drivers have been glued to each other this entire event. They've had little reprieve around this racetrack. There's little time to catch your breath, check your mirrors, and actually relax. The track constantly asks more and more of the driver, especially as the tires start to fade. A little bit more concentration, a little bit more control of the right foot, just when your muscles start to fade, just when the fatigue starts to set in. You have to get that much more particular about the way you apply the throttle.
I want to update everybody. The previous lap, we have had an epiphany, I think, at this point. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the word that I'm going to use. Eric Halsband, 1:25.03. Jordan Johnson, 1:25.108. That's a nearly 7/10,000th of a second difference between our top two, but Eric Halsband is quicker currently than Jordan Johnson. At this rate, we have 7 minutes left, less than 5 minutes left, really. Eric Halsband's going to need another 50 laps at that rate, I think, to catch Jordan Johnson. So it's not looking quite too likely for Eric Halsband. However, I want to hype him up as much as I can.
So you're saying there's a chance, Mike?
Yes, I
there's
am.
a chance. Oh, and that's going to be Andre Saba, our 8th place driver, having an incident, but able to spin in the right direction before incidentally doing a little bit too far rotation. And we'll get back out onto the tarmac before joining the drivers out onto the racetrack. No harm, no foul, and a safe rejoin for Saba there.
I was just singing the praises of him not too long ago either, so you could call that a little bit of a commentator's curse, unfortunately. Andre Saba has been doing so well up to this point. Unfortunately, with less than 5 minutes left, his car decides to go on strike more than a British factory in the 1920s. Let's see what led to that, as I'm assuming it's going to be a self-inflicted error, and that's exactly what it is. And uncharacteristic one is that kind of was after the power band was supposed to be delivered, so I'm almost kind of curious at what happened there. Is that due to tire wear? Is that due to a lapse in maybe mental judgment, lapse in just the fatigue? Potentially, because that is a very, very uncharacteristic mistake from such a talented driver.
It is an uncharacteristic mistake, but I think that is just the fatigue that comes into play at the end of the day. I mean, we've been driving around the racetrack for 72 minutes at this point. The drivers have put in a tremendous amount of laps. Lap number 50 already completed from Jordan Johnson. Lap number 51 about to be completed. It is just an amazing length of driving that these people have done tonight. Men and women have taken to the grid, ready to leave it all on the line, and they have done so for the last 50 laps to perfection. A couple of mistakes have been made here or there, but the drivers have been driving as cautiously as they can while pushing it to the limit. And speaking of which, there goes Johnson, dipping a couple wheels off into the grass out of the final corner.
Now, while we have a little bit of a moment to talk still, I just want to take a moment to shout out everybody that makes these championships possible. Of course, starting with our producer behind the scenes, Mr. Tom Bryant. You don't get to hear from him, you don't get to see much from him. However, all these pictures are brought to you by him. He's talking in our ear, giving us all the juicy information, so a massive shout out to him. And of course, AK Esports UK for putting on these pictures. Also, shout out to our title sponsor, Regadget, as well as, of course, our TV partners that we have. And oh, hold on, we have a little code on screen. If you're interested, head on over to shop.regadget.com, scan that QR code, go and pick yourself up a Phoenix bundle and use code Init while you're at it. You can find yourself with a hefty discount on something that's already heavily discounted. How could you say no to that? Again, shop.regadget.com if you're looking for a PC, or if you're looking to get rid of one of your old PCs and have it get sent off to somebody in need. The battle is still on here, as we're going to be seeing Ford versus Audi. Looks like this is going to be done and dusted, as that's Jordan Johnson actually making an overtake for a lapped car. Also, of course, shout out to eClutch that we're going to be live on in the MENA region, as well as Roku and Esports Edge. Massive shout out to the Esports Edge team, who is currently behind the scenes watching all of these lovely pictures and providing it for you at home on Roku. Init Esports also providing multiple championships as well. If you're interested, again, check out our website, initesports.gg. And lastly, second to lastly, iRacing is for allowing us on the platform. And massive shout out to Bubba Myers Custom Paints for providing some amazing liveries to our championship winners for our upcoming Init championships. $25 liveries as well, if you're looking to pick one up from Bubba. And here at the Team America Talent Scout event, you can sign up with that QR code and get involved in our next event. White flag, though, is out, Sauger, and we're ready to start singing the praises here of Jordan Johnson. It has been a stand-up race for Jordan, and to be honest, something that he is quite used to at this point here in the Team America Talent Scout event. We were wondering what Javi Sierra, what the drivers of Edwin Onofre were going to be like up against Jordan. And unfortunately, we just didn't get to see what we thought we were going to see this time. Eric Halsban putting up the best fight that he possibly could. The pace just not quite there. Jordan Johnson, really second to none so far.
Agreed. Jordan Johnson hasn't been challenged on the racetrack wheel to wheel yet, but he has been challenged according to the stopwatch. Those fast laps really did trickle in from Eric Halsban at 25.030. How about Roberto Alvarez Jr., 25.055 from him. Edwin Onofre may not have produced the fastest lap time overall, but his consistency drove him to gain 7 positions tonight and a podium. But Jordan Johnson is going to be the driver to accept the checkered flag from Barney the Flagman, Mike.
He certainly is. The Precision Soul Pack Racing team going to be rounding the final corner now here for the Team America Talent Scout event Season 2, Round 1. Jordan Johnson is going to be your victor as he flashes the headlights and takes home the victory once again. Again, a trend for Jordan Johnson. Behind him, Eric Halsband, who has driven second to none, absolutely delivering on his pace here tonight, but unfortunately he just could not quite deliver enough. But a P2 will be very welcome for the Team America Talent Scout event, and Eric Halsband, he is going to be the one to claim it. Behind this, 7 positions gained for Edwin Onofre. He is going to take the flag on the bottom step of the podium, a flash of the headlights as well, and it's a Ford Mustang 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely great run from Bronson Turner to bring home 4th place with his 2 positions gained in the number 81. And then Roberto Alvarez Jr. in the number 99, Andrew Herschel, Javi Sierra, Andre Saba, Morgan Stringer, and Nick Dawson-Lathan round out our top 10.
The rest of the drivers following suit. Sean Roberts behind, Max Bowman coming home in 12th. Lewis Holloway with 13th position, 1 position gained. Jordan Anthony Higgins down in 14th with 2 positions gained. Jason Willott with 3 positions gained, coming home in 15th. And Brooke Protasevich, 16th with 1 position gained. Our other 2 drivers, Aaron Brown, Jacob Dick, unfortunately taking their retirement as they did early on. And Aaron Brown, unfortunately, we still don't know what happened to him. It may have been a technical issue. That's what I suspect, as unfortunately he did not return back into the race. But it still was a great drive nonetheless from Aaron. Credit where credit is due. But again, drivers to keep an eye on here tonight, Sagar, Bronson Turner, a P4 result. He has been constantly improving throughout this field. And what's for breakfast for Jordan Johnson? Well, it's donuts.
Absolutely. Jordan Johnson, go ahead and enjoy those donuts and burn it down.
And he will be the one to kiss the bricks here tonight at Indianapolis. That is going to do it for right now. However, folks, do not go anywhere because we are going to be hearing from our drivers very, very shortly. The race, though, is ended. A massive shout out to all of our drivers for taking part, and of course, all of the viewers at home for watching. But we will be back here with all of our drivers in a brief moment. Jordan Johnson, Eric Halsband, and Edwin Onofre, all 3 drivers that are very familiar with the podiums here at Init Esports, some more recent than others, as well, Jordan just hasn't really raced with us too much in these past few rounds. However, when he comes back, he does in style. So Jordan taking home the victory as we get our official results in for, or unofficial official results in for the Team America Talent Scout event season 2, round 1. Jordan Johnson, 38 laps led, every single one of them nearly, except for when he was in the pit stops and Eric Halsband wasn't. Eric taking home 2nd, Edwin Onofre in 3rd. Bronson Turner coming home in 4th with Roberto Alvarez Jr. in 5th. Andrew Herschel, 6th position with Javi Sierra in 7th. Andre Saba coming home in 8th. Morgan Stringer in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, somebody went for a little alternate pit strategy and didn't quite work out for him, Nick Dawson-Lathan.
Following that will be Sean Roberts in 11th and Max Bowman. Lewis Holloway in 13th. Jordan Anthony Higgins in 14th. Jason Willott in 15th. Brooks Protasevich in 16th. Aaron Brown and Jake Dick round out the 18 participants here for the Team America Talent Scout.
And that, of course, will not be it for the Team America Talent Scout event, folks. We have our next race coming up on August 30th. That's this month. Red Bull Ring in the GT3s. Again, it's all GT3s here this time in the 2026 calendar. We're following the iRacing special event calendar, so it is going to be always relevant, and Red Bull Ring always going to be one to deliver. That's another track that we have seen in the past at Red Bull Ring. It was in the GT4s on a slightly different layout than normal. Jordan Johnson did take the victory there with Roman Lee, a driver that we didn't get to see on the grid here tonight, in 2nd. And Andrew Herschel, again, in 3rd position. That was 4 races ago? Yeah, that was 4 races ago. 5 if you count this one. So seeing that, a little bit of deja vu for some drivers, and will be very welcome, I think, for those drivers that did quite well. And for the others that didn't, well, maybe it's time to start practicing. We do come back to the comms cams here. Hello, myself, Mike Noss, joined alongside me, Sagar Bakshi. Sagar, let's break this one down again. We saw from the beginning Jordan Johnson leading since the lap, well, since the word go. Eric Halsband did a great job of keeping up very early on, but just couldn't quite bring it home and really just didn't have the pace. And I think, again, he probably knew that going into this, but just couldn't quite find it when he needed it. And Edwin Onofre climbing his way back through the field, a terrible qualifying result. I'll just say it as it is. Didn't quite work out in quali, but he managed to make it work out in the race.
And Norberto Alvarez Jr. really being one of the drivers we're going to keep our eye on throughout this championship. His lap times and his consistency allowed him to climb 2 positions throughout the race, but his qualifying run in that Acura perhaps wasn't exactly the story it should have been, right? So Andrew Herschel as well started in 3rd, loses a couple of positions early on, but a very good fighter throughout this event, didn't give up anything for free. Javi Sierra tried to give it everything he could at the end of the session, but it was to no avail. Andrew Herschel kept on fighting on and held on to 6th place.
And, we talk about the driver of the day I'll just mention my personal take. I think so far, I haven't thought about this one. I mean, I have, but I still think Bronson Turner. There might be some biases again. He's just somebody who's always there. This is the best result I think that he's had thus far. No, that's not. He podiumed. What am I talking about? He had his first podium not too long ago. So of course, this is his words. You're only as good as your last race, Andrew. Come on, terrible. No, Bronson, excuse me. But no, either way, it is very interesting to see these drivers develop over time. And yes, of course, we did see, actually, I don't have it in my notes here. He did, I know for a fact he took the podium, come on. As I just don't have it written down, but he will, of course, find his way back onto the podium, I'm sure, at some point. Well, Bronson, but again, don't go anywhere, folks. We are going to be hearing from our drivers very, very shortly. And I'm very curious to hear from Edwin. Because he's kind of, again, the driver that I have the most question marks on at the moment. And also just very excited to talk to with Edwin because he's a great guy in general. But Andrew Herschel, 3 positions lost. And we'll see, again, hopefully him back in the future. Now, I want to take a moment talk about some future championships that we have going on here. Is, of course, our all-women's championship Screen to Speed is coming up. That's the next event that we have here at Init Esports, and it's going to be live on the iRacing Twitch page. If you are interested in signing up, head on down to that QR code or www.screentospeed.com. You can find the signups available there. Again, open to all women. It's our all-women's championship. That is going to be on August 23rd at Olton Park on the Island layout. A very, very, very fun track. After that, we head to VIR for the GR86s. It's a GR86 first half of the calendar, then a Formula V second half of the calendar. And then once these 2 championships conclude, we'll be taking the points from both championships and having our overall results as well. So we have sort of 3 championships all baked into one, but one really at the end of the day. And again, that's our Screen to Speed championship here at Init Esports. It's been running strong now for nearly 5 years. Goodness me. So seeing Screen to Speed continue on again, something I'm very passionate of, just getting all the women out in motor racing. And I would show off my water bottle, but I left it across the room on accident, so I can't quite show that right now. But we do have our interviewees ready to go, it sounds like. And I'm going to be able to pleasurably speak here with Edwin Onofre, our P3 finisher here for tonight. Edwin, first off, do we got a copy?
And loud and clear.
Oh, yes, indeed. Awesome. Edwin, let's talk about the elephant in the room here tonight. Qualifying. What exactly went on? It was a great race. Your pace was incredible. The overtakes were extremely intelligent in the way you made them happen, but qualifying just didn't quite work out for you.
You're correct about that. I actually did try to make a faster lap that would have probably put me in top 5, but I had traffic. That's the major thing. I wasn't really prepared to try to deal with the traffic, so I ended up resulting in a really bad spot. Either way, I made up for it. I still go by my mentality. It's not where you start, it's where you finish, and I made it really prove it in the end at that race.
Absolutely. I mean, we praise it here at Team America. It's not about the position that you finish in. It's about how you make it throughout the race. And that is an absolute incredible drive. And I want to hear it from your perspective here, because it wasn't the easiest, I think, getting to where you got to. You had to make some very intelligent decisions, got caught up in some very interesting battles with drivers like Andrew Herschel and a few others, Norberto Alvarez as well. How did you make those positions work? Because you sort of just sat back, waited, and capitalized.
That's the idea. If I waited back, it allows to cool my tires, and that way I won't have to push as hard compared to the other drivers that were driving side by side. When it comes to passing, I had to make sure I had the right run and make sure that I don't overstep it so that way they will overtake me in the next time around. It happened around with Andrew when they were battling against around like the early stages of the race, and I'm like, okay, I know I want to get past them, but still I just had to be very patient. And to be honest, I was a little bit frustrated when I was right behind them, but I thought of it as like, okay, don't look at it at that perspective. Don't think of it as something that you can't pass. Try to use it for setting up on a longer run, like fuel. So I was a little bit of fuel saving right there too. And that's how I ended up actually getting 3 seconds behind Eric Hallsman after the pit cycle before I realized that, oh, he's on brand new tires because he got away from me. So I honestly thought we were going to have a battle with each other, but because he got tires, I didn't. He ended up getting away from me, and it's okay. It happens. I had a bad qualifying, so I wasn't really going to be able to try to get to P2 if I did take tires, because otherwise I would have stayed in the pits for a little bit longer. But yeah, I had to, like you said, had to make some intelligent moves, make sure I kept it nice and clean, make sure I don't get myself into any trouble, which there were a little bit of trouble around the first stages of the race. But other than that, I felt pretty good. I liked where I started from 10th to 3rd. I think that qualified me for driver of the day. No, okay. Anyway, you can give it to someone else. I'm just saying, like, maybe. Well, who knows how it goes, but this was a pretty fun race.
No, and it was very fun to watch as well, Edwin. I have to say, anytime you're out on the field, you're qualifying. It makes your racing a lot more interesting. So maybe work on the qualifying in the future. But hey, I don't know. It makes it great for us. Either way, Edwin, before we do move on, is there anybody that you would like to thank for your P3 here tonight?
I'd like to thank TechSport Racing for representing them under TechSport Sim Team. We actually did the Portimao 1,000 kilometers yesterday. We had some pretty good results. Not so much for like my end when it came to the HPD and broadcast splits, but we did start from like 25th out of 27 cars to 14. So overall, that was a decent result, especially since it was like a good event that we wanted to try out just to broaden our experience. So that was pretty good. I'd like to shout out to my new job, Velocity Sim Racing Lounge. That's where I work at now. So it gives some pretty good connections, especially like trying to get to all the other people that I want to be supporting as well, like Init Esports, which I saw you guys on Indianapolis, funny enough, last year when it was PRI. So I visited the booth over there, and given that I visited the track like at least 2 times last year, I was like, oh, I got a familiarity with around this course. So it made for a pretty special race, this one. I will say that to you. And then last but not least, shout out to you guys for the production. And thank you so much. Thank you to you two commentating for this race. And thank you for all the viewers who were watching the race. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Edwin, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And again, a massive shout out to all the drivers that showed up at PRI and that we got to meet. We talked about them here in this race as well. But have a great rest of your evening and enjoy the champagne. That is going to do it here for our P3 interview, and Sagar will be catching up here very shortly with our P2. But again, Edwin Onofre, always a driver you want to talk to. Very charismatic, very talented. At the end of the day, again, he's somebody who can make these intelligent overtakes, and he talks about that sort of waiting and pouncing when the move is right. We briefly touched on that and how he sort of sits back. It almost looks like he doesn't have any intention on overtaking until just like that, he does. And I think just, again, a very, very awesome driver to talk to all the time. Now, we are going to be hearing from Eric Hallsman here very shortly. So, Sagar, I think you've had a chance to catch up with Mr. Eric. I'll let you take it.
Eric, what is there to say about your run today? No positions lost, but no positions gained. It was a hard-fought battle for P2. Talk to us about your focus and concentration that comes into a race like this, where you're really just battling against the stopwatch.
Absolutely. Races like these are always interesting because it's a battle that you're not next to the driver, but you're battling for those tenths, and it feels like they're next to you, and you can see it in the relative every lap, every corner, ticking up and ticking down, seeing where they're faster. And so it was really all about focus and concentration, and my goal was to make those tires last all the way to that pit stop, pit as late as I can. That way I don't get caught up in traffic. I did take tires, and so that helped me in the last part of the race. Now, Edwin had a phenomenal, I don't know if he was fuel saving or what, but it seemed like his pit stop went really well, because I saw that relative jump down a few seconds, but it doesn't sound like he took tires, and I think that was the deciding factor in that last part of the race. So just a matter of sticking with it, maintaining focus, especially some of the curbs will eat you here at Indy.
Absolutely. We talked about that throughout the race, is about those curbs and how you have to attack them. And some of them it's imperative to get them right or use all the track that you bought and paid for, especially here on iRacing. That is true. How do you play with the limits of the track, and how do you get familiar with them?
Definitely time attacks. So the time attack leading up to this helped a lot. Being able to see where other drivers go, and then also just playing around in offline sessions. And sometimes, and the fortunate part of being in the virtual world is you can test like, okay, what happens if I put my car here? And that sends the front right wheel up through the front of the car. So maybe I don't go there. And so it's all about finding those limits and slowly pushing past them, and then reeling that back in. And there's a lot of curves, especially it's deceiving because there's some really flat curves, and then there's some curves that are like mountains, and you have to just kiss them. And if you're a little bit too wide, you'll wash out into the grass. And if you're a little bit too tight, you'll go for a flight. So
Perfectly put, Eric. Thank you very much for expressing it that way. Here on the podium, live from Speedway, Indiana, who would you like to thank, or who would you like to shout out?
I'd love to give a shout out to my friend and teammate Andrew. He was battling hard there, and he was gonna give me a run for his money. Unfortunately, it sounds like he got caught up in some stuff at the beginning, so we weren't able to battle how we wanted. But we did some practice together and really worked together on trying to figure out some fuel for the race, and then also figuring out what sort of strategy we're gonna do as far as pit and tires. And so, yeah, he's been a super big help, and racing with him in other series has been wonderful. Also, big thanks to people at Superlap out here in Michigan. It's a drive studio that they sponsor me in some other races, and it's just a phenomenal place to go and learn, and they've been super supportive. So big thanks to Jake and Dan from Superlap. And thanks to my family and my friends who are watching the broadcast, and thanks to you guys here at Init, Mike, Tom, Steffi, Steve, Luke, and you, Sugar. The broadcasts are awesome, and it's just such a blast to be able to watch these back and really be a part of that action. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for your love and support here at Init Esports, Eric. We really appreciate you. Have a great night, and as always, make sure you stay safe out there.
Absolutely, you too. Thank you.
Now, Sauger, always nice to hear from Eric Halsband. I have a little update here from our producer, Tom Bryant. That's fascinating, actually. This is very interesting. So the time trial server that Eric Halsband had mentioned, by the way, live on official iRacing servers for our next event as well. But our time trial server was the exact same results as our event here tonight, but Jordan Johnson and Eric Halsband had identical times in the trial. A 1:24.061, 0.00000 seconds splitting those two drivers. Absolutely incredible.
Absolutely phenomenal. Both drivers gave everything they had in the time trial, and Eric alluded to how imperative it was for him to learn what it was like to be the faster of the pairing.
Yes, indeed. Now, we have Jordan Johnson here in our interviews. I've had a chance to catch up with him, it seems like, on most of these Team America Talent Scout events. Jordan, welcome back to the Victory Booth.
Yeah, thanks. Welcome into a new season, I suppose.
Yes, indeed. Now, I wanted to talk about, we had really hyped up the beginning of this race because Javi Sierra and, of course, Edwin Onofre came into this with a lot of pace, and we knew that they were going to be your biggest rivals. However, the qualifying just wasn't quite there for them. Was that a bit of a relief off your shoulders when you saw that? Now, I'm also curious as well, a side question, how much practice did you put in for this one?
Well, I really came in with no practice. I was on vacation all the way until yesterday, and then I've just been busy ever since, busy all day, so I didn't really get much in. It was just what I had in the pre-race practice. But yeah, it was really just kind of run what I can. I really enjoy Indy as a track. It's not one of my best tracks in terms of pace, but it's a track I really do enjoy. For me, it was really just kind of just do what I can and best I can, and whatever happens, happens. So put a decent gap between us, and then kind of carry on from there.
And of course, the GT cars being sort of your bread and butter at the end of the day, as you've pretty much, I think, taken victory in every single race that you've taken part in when it comes to GT3s/GT4s. So really just continuing that trend. And as we get ready to head on to the Red Bull ring, I'm curious what your confidence level is like.
Yeah, Red Bull Ring, another track, honestly, that I really enjoy. So I'm a little bit skewed there. I really, really do enjoy Red Bull Ring. It is one of my better tracks, but it's a track where it's hard to get away from. I mean, there's really 3 long straights. You can maybe even argue a 4th with not many opportunities to open up a big gap. So it's kind of running yourself right on the ragged edge, and off tracks are always miserable at that track. So it will really kind of test who's got the most confidence on the limit, but look forward to it.
Certainly will be. And now, Jordan, before we do move on here tonight, I want to talk a little bit about your race. Was there any moments that had you worried at all in terms of, we only caught you on there a few times, and it seemed like for the most part, you'd relatively clean air, no real issues with back markers that we saw. But all in all, was there any scares, any moments of doubt potentially throughout tonight?
No, I had one scare with a back marker in the middle of the race. Just really a miscommunication. I'm just trying to get through traffic, but yeah, I ran fairly conservative in my tire strategy. It's a tire limited track here, anyways. The fuel, and of course, it helps to extend your fuel out, but tire wear is pretty brutal on this track, especially on the rear left tire. So pitted early, played really conservative, kept the pace I wanted, and yeah, really just kind of managed the race from there. Track temperatures played a little shenanigans here and there. I thought I was going to get cooler, and then it got hotter again, but wasn't too bad at the end of the day.
And the only driver in the 124s as well when it came down to the checkered flag. But before we do move on here tonight, Jordan, is there anybody that you would like to thank for your victory?
Yeah, really the biggest thanks I have is just Solpex Precision Racing. They really have kind of put everything behind us, and we've made a big effort to recruit a bunch of new guys and really push forward the team. So it's been really exciting past year. I think it's really been about a year since I've joined them now. So kind of our anniversary period, and we have a lot of really, really strong things coming up, especially as we look forward to kind of the upcoming league season as we end off all these special events.
Very, very exciting to hear. Now, of course, Jordan will be back with us for the Red Bull Ring. I'm looking forward to see you battle some of the newer names out on the track and maybe have a little closer one in that event. But in the meantime, enjoy your champagne and have a great rest of your evening, Jordan.
Thank you. You too.
And that, folks, is going to wrap it up for tonight. At least we're going to begin the wrap here for tonight as we get to talk about all of our lovely, lovely events in the future. But Sagar, before we do that, we will be talking about what we just talked about. Jordan Johnson, confident as ever. Had a pretty stellar drive throughout it. Not much to talk about at the end of the day, but I am excited when it comes to Red Bull Ring. He kind of hyped up a couple points. It's going to be a very difficult track to pull away from. Overtaking, challenging, but certainly doable, especially through turn 1. Into turn 2 as well, the late dive bomb into the tight hairpin. After that, it's going to be a hurry up and wait sort of track where you're going to be riding that roller coaster in the background. But I am very, very excited to see how the next race is going to play out. And we're gonna get him back here briefly. Of course, there we go. Let's try that one more time.
High in the Austrian Alps, the speed is going to meet precision at the legendary Red Bull Ring, and it will be the battleground for our next event. You know, it was initially built in 1969 as the Oscherschring in the Austria circuit, and it hosted the first Formula One race back in 1970. But it'll be new machines. It'll be a new circuit. The Red Bull Ring from 2004 reopened in 2011 under its current name, and in these high-tech machines, like George Johnson alluded to, it's hard to get away. The drivers are going to be dragging each other along the racing surface.
And here is our calendar for the upcoming races here at the Team America Talent Scout Event Season 2. We are done, dusted, and over with. Indianapolis Road Course here on August 16th. That is the one you're watching at this moment. Or if you're a VOD watcher, we thank you for watching that as well. Signups are still available, though, for our next events. Red Bull Ring is up next in the GT3s. After that, we head to Suzuka over in Japan for a very, very difficult race. I think that's going to be, passing will be a luxury, qualifying going to be very important as we head to that third round. And then Road Atlanta down in Brazelton, Georgia for September 27th. We get to see the GT3s take to the track once more on one of the most iconic American tracks, other than, of course, Road America down at the bottom, November 22nd in the GT3. 3s. The rest of the calendar, by the way, why is it TBA? Well, because we follow the iRacing official event calendar, and those events just have not been announced yet. So as soon as they're announced, we'll update our calendar, and you will know exactly what track to take part in. But Sagar, as we get ready to wrap up here again, before we say our goodbyes, we will be talking briefly about some of our other leagues that we have coming up. And again, starting off with NASCAR, again, one of your baby, the league that has been going so extremely well. Why don't you talk us through this one?
Well, it really is our producer Tom Bryant's baby, the NASCAR Truck Series, and he's really done an amazing job to gather up the cats on this one. From Daytona, we started off with a handful of drivers to Charlotte, where we doubled the grid, 167 laps. We sprinkled in a couple of cautions to spice up the variety of life at the beginning, but after that, it was cool green flag running after that. For the stage breaks, those were the only big cautions we had following that. Indy will be a little bit more drama-filled, then Bristol, Texas, Iowa, the Glen, was going to be my favorite, Vegas, Talladega, and Homestead, Miami to finish things off at the beginning of December.
It is a thrilling calendar with a thrilling amount of drivers, and I'll just mention one of the names that we have in that league. Well, I'll mention two, actually. Tom Bryant, he's one of the names out there, our producer. So if you want to get alongside him and potentially go and take him out, no, I'm kidding. No, race with him. It is going to be, of course, Mr. Tom Bryant. And on top of that, Marcus Hagman, has been doing an incredible job out on the circuit. So I just wanted to shout him out for our truck series. He has been driving the wheels off of those NASCAR trucks. Now, I want to also mention our title sponsor here tonight. That's Regadget. If you are interested in picking up a PC, head on over to Regadget. Again, shop.regadget.com. You can scan that QR code if you are interested. You can find the Phoenix bundle on your screen starting around that $1,300 mark. And on top of that, you can use code Init to get yourself an even heftier discount. It's got a 3060, a terabyte of storage, and on top of that, many, many other things. I'm a software guy. I'm not a hardware guy. However, I can assure you Regadget is, and they are a specialty at it. On top of that, if you have a PC laying around and you would like to send that off to them, make sure it gets sent off, of course, because they will refurbish it. They will end up sending it off to a family in need, and they will put it to great use. And on top of that, they'll pay for the shipping for you to send that hunk of junk out to them. So don't just throw it away. Send it over to Regadget, and they will make great use of it. Also, of course, a massive shout out to iRacing for allowing us on our platform, and of course, Esports Edge and eClutch for allowing us to stream on there, as well as, of course, our broadcast producer behind the scenes, Tom Bryant with AK Esports UK. This is going to be a long series ahead of us. Oh, also, of course, we have our new livery sponsor as well along it. Of course, our proud partner, Bubba Myers. If you're looking for a $25 livery, or if you're looking to pick up a free one potentially, join the Init series where you can potentially win one, as every single Init series that we're running right now has a livery on the line by Bubba Myers. You can check him out. Links down in the description. But Sagar, I think that is gonna wrap it up for tonight. Is there anything that you would like to add here before we bring this ride to a close?
Just want to extend my gratitude to all the drivers and all the fans watching live now or in the future. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate you. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there.
And on that note, folks, that is going to do it for us here tonight. The Team America Talent Scout Season 2, Round 1, coming to a close. And I hope absolutely everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.
The speed. The fight. You're on your own. Not anymore with Init Esports.